How's it going, anime enthusiasts and casuals alike? Welcome to the Anime Book Club, where we watch the old, new, and classic to have a thoughtful discussion about the medium we love. It is your host, once again, Zezoran, and I'm back once again with my friend JD. How you doing?
What up, goats? We're doing chill.
Sorry and so sorry for being late with this one. Let's just say life had a way to keep us away, and certain other events that I wanted to go through happen at the same time as well. So I had to push things back, but we're back. And I'll say, being back with season two, part two, we've gone downhill. Not
Yeah, it's
slightly, not moderately. Okay, well, probably moderately, but I'm somewhere in between slight and moderate for part two downhill. What do you, what do you think?
this was a pace killer I never could have expected off of the amazing high that was the first part of season two. And I'm gonna expose myself here. I was watching other shows just so I didn't have to finish watching the Locker Rise in season two. That's how bad it felt to me. It was rough.
It was an unfortunate stopgate to everything that we did. You know what I think is that if the first half of season two, like the first 12 episodes, if that was just season two, we'd be golden, we'd be set. Episodes 13 to 25 felt like season 2.5, like the in between, like the interim between season 2 and season 3, which I won't say is like a bad thing, but also at the same time, what we see during this is less than ideal, but there's still some good pocket of things to talk about.
This is definitely, it feels like one of those transitionary periods where you like check in on characters, right? But I feel like they mixed in a lot of like sort of nuggets of like extra world building in there. I don't think it's really good to put it at the back half of Akihabara arc in the raid arcs. I feel like if they had swapped them, just like put the second half of the season before the first part of the season, and they did it that way, I would have like much better reception towards it, I think.
You know what the problem is? They couldn't do it that way because of what we see in the second half.
Yeah.
They had to tell it this way. Well, one of the events, the uh, Konami arc, that could have been told within like a couple of episodes in the beginning, and then we could have something. Since that part is kind of a side story in itself. By the way, the second half of season two is a bunch of side stories mixed in with a main-ish story that are all told relatively at the same time. So instead of the last podcast where we went one by one with the raid episode by episode, for this one, we're just going to bounce around because a lot of the stories overlap with each other and they're really short ish to speak about. So, JD, you ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's dive right into it. It's gonna be a hard dive, guys.
It's going to be a roller coaster of emotions. So, well, first one direct episode to talk about. Episode 13, Sweet Trap. That's the Valentine's Day episode. That is the palate cleanser after the raid arc. This is where I want to say it's like a break. It's like a good rest stop because we had two raids. A bunch of side characters had their glow ups. That's cool. We can take a break. Episode 14 is okay. That begins the Konami sort of small arc. Kanami is the debauchery Tea Party's leader, who we finally see, and she's traveling with a couple of other characters. One of them, well, not one of them, two of them being NPCs, which gets into a little bit of an unfortunate thing about season two, the second half, is that it's kind of hard to know who was an NPC and who isn't until they say so. Like even looking at the name pop-ups and class pop-ups, kind of hard to tell. But Konami is on the Chinese server of Elder Tale, and she's going about her days doing things with the other party members. and she's just trying to link up with the Japan server to see Shiro. Cool. The other side story that's being, well, not side story, the main ish story that's being told alongside of it is the new party, Minori, Izuzu, Toya, Serra, all, and Rundle House. All of them are being tasked by Shiro to go west to fight some wyverns and collect their materials so they can make a magic bag, aka bag of holding or whatever, to hold all their items. Nice. Reminding everyone that the west side is where all of the kind of horrible stuff is happening with Nerea and a few more NPCs that will finally get their glow up, or not glow up, more or less they will be in the limelight for a bit at the season, at the end of episode 2, not episode 2, episode 12, when they were teased. Along the way, they do meet Roe 2, who is Shiro's playtest character when the a character on the playtest server for Elder Tale. How does she have autonomy when Shiro actually is playing his character? We'll get into that. But she meets up with the new party. After that, they meet up with Dariella, who is actually Nerea in disguise, and she moves along with them for a time because Nerea is trying to move away from her group because she's being used as a figurehead, as a pretty face for Intix's master grand scheme in order to have control over the Yamato server. We'll get into that later. After that, when they actually reach their destination, we also meet the Odyssey Knights, who are a bunch of players from the west side of the continent, who some of the members are part of the Plant Guild. They're a group that are trying to escape Elder Tale by dying consistently because they see a bit of their old life in their memories, and that way they perceive it as their only way to escape. It's very ritualistic. It feels like a religion. It looks horrible to see. The wyvern attack on the town that the party reaches is also a staging operation for the Plant Guild. Those NPCs are using a machine to power level their own NPCs to get levels so they can stage a war on the east because of a traditional generational bullying over like war point between both sides. Nianta has a moment with Londark because, Londark wants to go home, but the only way for him that he believes to go home is to work with the Westernland guys. So there's a divide between adventurers on the east and on the west, and Akihabara on their mentalities or how they're dealing with the world. Speaking of how adventurers are dealing with the world, there's an ongoing or building crisis within Akihabara because adventurers, after spending a whole year within the town, there's some creeping problems. There are a bunch of teachings that we learned about in the beginning of the second season. People who are learning teachings are actually pretty cool and powerful. People who don't have teachings are kind of weak. People who have crafting professions are actually making money. People who don't have crafting professions don't make as much money. People who are good at fighting and hunting, they're making money. People who are not good at fighting are not making money. So there's a growing divide between adventurers on who can do what, who can't do what, who is able to invent things, can't do event things. It's a moral of, do you have the skill set to succeed? You're good. If you don't have the skill set to succeed, oh well. So there's poverty that's happening. There's an issue with strength that is happening, and that divide is being very made clear, and the round table has to make decisions on how to try to build everyone back up together equally. but it's very difficult. Economics is happening within Eldertale. While all this is going on, the new patch uh, is bringing in a new type of monster called geniuses. Very powerful NPCs that have a certain quirk to them that once you find out the quirk, they're very easy to defeat. All of this culminates to Roy 2 coming into contact with Shiro by way of letter, telling him of a possible way to get home. They find the way to get home, or they find the possibility. Unfortunately, the possibility breaks, but there is a new resolve on what they need to do next, and what's probably hinting at what's going to happen in season 3. That is the half of season 2, that second half of season 2. JD, where would you like to start?
Okay. So I'm gonna start out by saying anything involving Plant Hayden, the NPCs trying to incite a war with each other, and I should add in the Odyssey Knights, but they're actually sort of interesting. But that whole conflict just needs to be skipped. I don't. It was not fleshed out well enough for me to care about it. I think even later in the season, there's an episode that follows Isaac, my second favorite character. Let's be real, after my boy, my Lord, my Savior, Krusty, right? Where he's just mentoring whoever's going to be the king of Minami, Lanesia's younger brother and grandson to the king. And there's an assassination in that episode, and it happens so quickly and it's resolved so quickly that there's just like no intrigue about it. It's just like a cool Isaac episode. And I love Isaac, but that didn't really add anything to the arc for me. That rant aside, we should start with the new travel party.
Okay, so this leg with the new party, I think it was inevitable because we had it in season 1. For season 2, instead of a combat scenario type of thing where they're going to a dungeon, there is little, if not barely any combat at all with the new party. This is more of a traveling, they need to go to a place to hunt wyverns. Yes, they need to fight the wyverns, but when they attempt to fight, well, the wyvern, they don't find the wyverns. The wyverns actually come to them when they get to a certain town. Unfortunately, the Odyssey Knights are actually there to protect the crown. Well, protect, quote unquote, to protect the town. And unfortunately, Roy 2 just kind of solves the issue once a bunch of other things are hashed out. But the whole journey for the new party, it wasn't so much about fighting. It was more about being, or actually growing up, being mature, dealing with the world that they're currently in, and the slow realization and wondering what is their future and what do they want to do in this world.
For me, I think this was a great. And I know I was talking bad about the new party in the previous videos. I still do talk bad about them, but I think this was a great arc to just get a sense of who they are as human beings, right? I feel like you said, them wondering about their future, both in game and out, really does sort of hammer in that coming of age feeling that you have when you like grow up with an MMO. So I'll come out and I'll say, firstly, my favorite part about this season was diving into Isuzu specifically, right? And how she feels about her own future in real life. So for her, she was a traveling bard. She is a traveling bard in the game, and she's performing at concerts at every little town they get to on their way to the journey, right? And everybody's telling her, Ronald House is telling her, Toya is telling her, Minori is telling her, hey, you're a really good bard. And the whole time she's saying, oh, well, I'm not that amazing. I just sort of grew up with it. And she's sort of like selling herself short, right? Even though she's just doing covers. And as a person who sings myself, I definitely get that. I can sing covers, but you'll never see me like write a whole new song, right? And they ask her, hey, are you going to be like a professional musician in real life? And she says, no, I don't have enough talent for that. And I think, do you remember the scene between her and Ronald House Code, like immediately after that?
Where he talks about the 42.
The 42 songs. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. 42 songs. The exact amount of sounds, not sounds, but tracks inside the video game that they're in. The people of the land can only sing 42 songs because that's all the music that exists in the world. And Rondo, oh, go for it, go for it.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say it too, but it is the fact that whenever Izuzu plays something that's different, that's not a cover or something different, it sparks something within the NPCs. And this kind of boils over to the overarching point of the second half of season two, is that we never really consider certain consequences of what's happening. But the idea is that once the adventurers have dropped into the world and have stayed within this world for a very long time and they've made these changes, the impact on the NPCs is greater than we ever think.
And I feel like, okay, so escapism is probably one of the strongest themes in the Log Horizon, just in general. And I feel like even if you're looking at it on the surface, it's really in your face, right? Think back to William Massachusetts' like amazing speech about how the game meant everything to him, right? And that it changed him as a person. Like he grew up in it and became like a better person because of it. I feel like this is the other side of the coin where Isuzu, through making songs for these NPCs who definitely never had a vision or who could never think of like new things by themselves, you get like a better sense for like a purpose in real life where it's like, oh, okay, even though I'm not a professional musician in real life, maybe I'll never reach that aspiration. I'll still have these skills like in my heart. I'll still love music, and other people will like experience great joy through my own experience. So it's like not a waste of time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And you want to know what's like the realest part about Rondo coming out to Izuzu and saying that the NPCs are actually looking forward to her songs, like the new songs, the things they've never heard. Like it brings tears to their eyes. And he says that, hey, your songs make you a hero. And I was like, wow, that's cool. But at the worst point, Izuzu is still being negative and downplaying her sense of skills and self. Like, someone that you've been with for a long time, that has also been going into the background in like certain scenes of helping the NPCs kind of cope and be with the adventurers or trying to learn the adventure of culture. Because we also see in this arc that Rundle House, he's been like the liaison, he's been the go-to, he's been the helper for other NPCs in order to coexist with the adventurers. And they only mention it by say, I want to say episode 20 or episode 21. But in the background, like very subtle scenes of we see Rundle like ducking into an alley with an NPC, or Rundle just hanging out into the back. He's like talking with the NPCs. He's been like helping other NPCs like become adventurers, learn skills or learn cookings, like guiding them to other people. And for Izuzu to say, "Yeah, I'm that's cool, but I'm still not that great." It's like, girl, we have people that are trying to be like y'all when they can't, and yet you're kind of like a demigod in the world. You're great, but with her mentality right now and her with her age, she still doesn't see it yet, and that broke my heart a little bit and made me a little bit mad. But it is what it is.
No, definitely. It's one of those things that really made me like wake up to where it's like, I may not be where I want to be at right now, but the road to that place, even if it doesn't get you all the way there, wasn't wasted, right? And people can still look at that and say, wow, you're really cool. I aspire to be that. So it really makes me feel personally that like we should really take like pride and confidence with our achievements, even if it's not like that end goal we search for.
Mm-hmm. Out of the whole entire new party, I think Toya is the worst, in sort of like
Oh, not Toya.
in a bad and good way. All right, so I have an irk with Toya, and I believe it's because he's young, he's naive, and he doesn't really understand much about it. But when he fights with the Odyssey Knights, we'll tie this in with the Odyssey Knights. So, like we said before, the Odyssey Knights, they want to escape the world because they have lives. This this is like the other side of the escapism you're talking about. Is that everyone that's like got trapped into Elder Tale, and we see in season one and a half, in the first half of season two, we've seen the people that that are gamers, or they're like other people that are like halfway in the hobby and they still like games. We never actually seen the people who actually have lives outside the game. Like the night that Toya was talking to, he said, "Bro, I have a wife. We were supposed to go on our honeymoon like in like a couple of in like some time. Like I just got into this game to check out the patch, and then after that I wanted to go with my wife. I can't go to my wife anymore. When I die, I'll come back to the cathedral. But also when I die, I see the world. I don't want to be in this world. I want to leave. I don't know the way." And the amount of times that he's died, and like also with the other people with him who have like their own various reasons, if I see the real world, I see the memories that I have of it, that's like my only positive dopamine that I have. But when I come back to this world, I'm back in my cage. I can't see outside of it. But when I die, I can actually see outside of it just a little bit. But unfortunately, that sort of mentality has corrupted the knights in a horrible way. They have this mobile cathedral, which basically acts as a cathedral where they can go to. So when they actually go to the wyverns and actually go into the battle, not only are they attacking and defeating them, they want to die because they believe that there's a small slimmer of chance that they can actually either escape, but at the worst of it, they can at least see the other world. And they're crazed. It's very realistic in like a religion type of way. It's scary to watch, but also at the same time, it's very real. But where I have the problem is Toya, good on him, bless his heart, that he's trying to talk to this guy who's like supposedly like be the leader, but he's not really the leader, but he's like the most talkative one. He's like, you shouldn't be throwing your lives away. Like, even though that you come back, it's still doing evil. It's like, bro, I have a wife. I don't want to be here. And Toya's like, but you still can't do it. Okay, how do I leave then? Uh, I don't know. All right then, get off of me. And Toya is like, I didn't. Toya is like, we see his backstory that he got into an accident and he's now paralyzed from the waist down. I believe he's in a wheelchair, and now he's in the game world. He's able to walk and everything, and he's happy. But here's the question though, Toya, there are tens of thousands of other people that are not like you, that maybe they are gamers and maybe they want to be here. Or maybe they're gamers and they don't want to be here. Or maybe they have some other life outside of them that they're aspiring to be, or like a job they need to get to, family need to take care of. But the fact that Toya is despised of the real world because of the accident that he has, because he can't do anything, but now he's in the game world where he can do things, he kind of has the thought of, I can stay here and like do things because in the other world, I really can't do anything. But we can't push that idea onto somebody else because you don't know what the other person had in the real world. But Toy's been so adamant in pushing him and trying to make him see other things. It's like, Toya, you don't understand the whole broader, bigger picture. There's a reason why Nyanta kind of like pushed back on you and said, so you want to join the Akihabara raid and you want to help out because when you die, you just come back to the cathedral, right? And then Toya had a moment like, oh, well, kind of, but not really. And Nyanta like had that talk with him, but still, it's as I'm sorry, I could rant all day about Toya's naivety.
No, I definitely get it. And you're exactly right. His mindset specifically leans towards like not toxic positivity, but definitely like an unempathetic kind of positivity. For what it's worth, I don't think the Odyssey Knights do have a good point. I can see how they get addicted to like dying just so they can see the memories of the real life. And my understanding is, of course, that we're not supposed to really agree with the Odyssey Knights. I sort of think that sequence was flubbed a little bit. I know I'm not supposed to agree with the Odyssey Knights, but I do feel a lot of pity for them than like Toya, right?
Yeah, I feel I root for them more than Toya in that instance. That's where it came to me. More than likely because of, our age and how mature we are and how we are able to see things. If I remember this back when I watched it the first time, I probably have a differing, I'm more than likely had a differing opinion. Maybe not strong enough to be on the Odyssey Knight side, and I still be on Toya's side. But over, like, probably later and thinking on it more, I would say, yeah, the Odyssey Knights, while they were wrong in their thinking, they had a lot more ground to stand on than Toya.
Yeah, like you asked me 10 years ago if I was gonna root for Toya or the Odyssey Knights. Boy, I'm on Toya's side every day. Okay. My boy's out here grinding, trying to tell you you should live. That's some real shit. We should listen to the boy.
Here's a very interesting question I want to ask you, and I've been dying to ask you this. If you were trapped in Eleuthère as well, and you knew that there was a pulse, and you were like in Akihabara, and you were probably maybe not part of Log Horizon, but you were within that spirit influence to where you knew things about what was going on in the world. If you knew, we'll say in two instances, 10 years before when it first came out, and then as you are now, would you stay in Elder Tale or would you go back to the real world?
Ooh. And I know everything I know now.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're saying is that you are within the spirit influence. Maybe you're in Lock Horizon, maybe you're working with Shiro, or maybe you're just within that area and you kind of know, okay, a working, there's a work in progress way of trying to get back to the real world in some way or fashion. And you're kind of like in the new party situation where, you know, it's now the point you're starting to ask the question to yourself, what's my future? Do I want to stay in this game world or do I want to go back to the real world? And let's say it's like a one-way trip, because that's what we're kind of, well, even in the instance that we learned about it in this moment, that's kind of what we're theorizing. It's like a one-way trip. Either you stay or you don't.
I would, I would go. I think at some point, like, yeah, no, I couldn't do all that like adventure grinding all the time, bro. It's too much. I like the idea of it outside as like a recreational thing, but once it becomes my life, man, I'm just gonna sit in the bar and drink all day if I'm still there.
But what do you mean, man? You are immortal in the game world. You always revive at the cathedral. You can do all these cool and flashy things. You can hunt monsters. You can get gold. The real world is kind of bland and boring. There's violence everywhere. There's political nonsense that's going on, and if you're working a bland 9 to 5, you know, a little adventuring every now and then won't hurt you. You can actually find yourself a 9 to 5 within the adventuring world. You can hop around everywhere. What's not to like about a game world?
Oh, I think I just don't have the escapist tendency yet, or and I didn't have that before. I feel like once you start dying and you realize that you can't, like the actions last or lack, I guess, finality to it. And the other thing is, how long am I going to be able to survive in the game world? This is assuming like I don't die in real life and then also die in game or something like that. That's never been like clear to me either for Log Horizon.
Nah, not yet. We don't know the specifics of it. But, if you do die, you lose your memories, but hey, you come back.
Nah, I couldn't stay in Eldertown. I couldn't. Even though that's my one way to be a dwarf forever.
Nah, I get you. If you asked me when I first watched this, I would be on the fence, but I would be leaning on more staying because I am one of those true gamers at heart. I am like a William Massachusetts in that part, and I would definitely stay. I would think twice about a couple of things, but I would stay. But if you ask me now, I'm gone. I'm gonna be on that first, well, probably not the first bus, maybe like third bus out, because I would like to be in a game with a little bit more experience what it has to offer, and then be like, all right, I've had my fun. It's time to go. I got parents I need to take care of. There's people at work that actually need me working the machine. So there's actually events like I'd be missing out on so many things. Like I can't go to anime conventions anymore. I can't spend money on anime merchandise that's gonna collect dust on my shelf. You know, I look at everything around me. I'm like, dang, I'm gonna give up all of this to stay in the game world. I mean, sure, I can like jump 100 feet into the air. I can cast some powerful spells, but that's not gonna start. But that's not gonna hit the same when I buy a booster box of some card game and crack a very shiny full card and I get that hit of dopamine, knowing that I spent $125 and I got $700 worth of cardboard in my hand. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, bro. We do not support gambling on this channel, but I respect it.
Oh man. But yeah, it's weighing the pros and cons and thinking about what's going to happen into the future and what you are willing to give up in the world to stay in like a artificial world, which is continuing to grow as long as all the adventures stay in there. Speaking of growing, the inequality that's happening between adventures and Akihabara, how do you feel about that?
I don't even know how to feel about that one because it comes out of left field for me. So, like, honesty, the third biggest skill in Akihabara is just picking up anybody for their ranks. And I remember at the beginning, wasn't there strength and the reason for being on the council being because they were like a good combat guild or something like that? And now it's just because they have like a lot of people on payroll.
I think honesty was the third biggest guild outside of DDD and I think it's Isaac's guild. I can't. The name of his guild is following him, and that's like the Black Knights.
I think it was
Was it?
like Black Knights, yeah.
Yeah. So honesty, it's like the third biggest guild, and then next to that is the Crescent Moon Alliance. I think honesty is more. I think it's a combat guild, but also it's like a guild that has various other things within it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't know how to feel about that being brought up now. Because I feel like it should lead to something. And like Honesty's Guildmaster is being called out for like not being a part of the round table, but like in the episodes he's in talking about like the inequality and stuff like that, and how people are being unmotivated and like how some people are leechers. Like we don't actually see any of the like negative consequences except for people just being like unmotivated and kind of angry, right? I feel like that should lead to something, but it's just not being shown yet.
Yeah, I think it's one of. I think it's like a background seasoning that adds onto like the growing problems that are in the world. Like the world building. Because when you think about it, after like a single year, a lot of animes don't actually do this, right? You'll hop into another world and you're kind of just following like, the main character as they go through their journey, but you're never knowing like what are the small intricate details that are happening that Log Horizon just kind of explains. Okay, you got a bunch of adventures in the world. Anybody can quite literally do everything, but at the same time, there's some things that other people can't do. You kind of ask yourself the question: all right, where is all this? Where is all the gold going? Where are they spending it on? How powerful is each individual person? What are they doing? And Lock Horizon actually explains it, and it kind of gets to the point where it's like a small pride at what is the adventure society in Log Horizon looks like. I think it looks good, even though it's very small like look intos and it doesn't really go anywhere. It kind of adds to the point of you've been trapped in the world for a year. What else is there to do? It kind of goes all the way back to season one to where, all right, we're in this world, we're kind of trapped here. There's no other content to do. Let's start PKing.
I would have preferred that, man. Get all the people who are unmotivated, put them in an arena, and have them fight. They'll have something to do, and they won't be bored no more. They can stop crying or whatever. For me, I feel like that that little thing where they're being brought up is sort of just like a, oh, there are people who aren't like ready for this life. Okay, send them outside so they get used to it, right? Make them go like kill goblins or something like that.
Yeah, but if you're doing that for them monotonously, they're going to be even worse off. It's, and you know what the thing is? They struggle to talk about it. Right now, we're also struggling to talk about it. It's a hard issue to talk about. And there's no good solution.
Yeah, there really isn't. I think Heinz, the leader of Honesty, he was going for more I'm gonna call it communism, right? No, but you get what I mean, where it's like we'll all share the resources, we'll share the teachings, we'll like get people hooked up with like crafting recipes so they can also like contribute and we can like share all the progress like individuals have made and everybody else is like, bro, no, that just undermines my achievement. It's like a small microcosm of like actual real world politics that's like hard to strike a good balance between.
Or that just sounds like a regular Reddit board of people
No,
trying to
literally.
solve a problem.
Like, hell no.
No, it's all too real. Speaking of problems that are happening, bro, Westernland, God.
Dude, why does it look like that, bro? What happened over there, bro?
Yeah, here's my thing. I wish Intix had a bigger role as a villain. She is, even though she seems like the cookie cutter villain of like using someone else as a figurehead to gut up in power, she's kind of cool doing it. I'm not gonna lie. That scene with Nerea and just completely destroying her. I was like, damn, calm down. What did Nuria do?
No, she's an amazing villain, and she could do like so much stuff just from like that one conversation alone. I have super high expectations for her, but we never get to see anything in the season. Like her personally, she is not doing that much.
Nah, she is unfortunately the villain in the background. And she's being a very good villain in the background by having only one good scene and then everything else is like, alright, Nuria, I am cosplaying as Dariella. I'm going to follow this new party. Oh, they're with Shiro? Yay. And then Toya, oh god. It's so funny the Toya scene with Dariella on the pier. It's like he's like, you should smile more. I mean no, you should stop smiling. And she's like, huh? And it's like, you don't have to fake it every time. And and then Nurea's like, what is this kid on?
Damn, I got called the fuck out. It was crazy. I thought that was wild for Toya. Like, who gave this man inside 100?
It kind of works because there is the underlying factor that children notice things more than what you're able to like hide. So it's like a good win moment for Toya, and it kind of put Nuria in check. Even though that she's like, she really didn't do that much with the new party. She was just trying to like get information. And now that she knew that Shiro put those kids to work to get it back, she was just kind of there for the ride. She didn't do much of anything else. But she did escape her other people to get away from them. Which, by the way, that power leveling machine on the NPCs, I had to rewatch that scene like 3 times in order to understand what was going on.
That was like the most interesting sort of thing that Westland was doing. And the crazy part is we'll never see what happens with it until next season, bro.
Yeah, the whole world with the Western Land to the east is built on like a generation kind of thing. It's pretty basic to the point, and again, the underlying factor is probably the Westernland wouldn't have gone to would have tried to gone to the war with the East. They probably wouldn't have tried to make this power leveling machine to level up the NPCs if overarching theme the adventurers weren't here. The idea of adventurers being here doing all of these crazy things like cooking without skills, building steam machines, being able to teach other NPCs like skills and whatnot. The NPCs, they're like, oh man, we're changing because of them. And that's like one of the bigger changes to Elder Tale is that the NPCs now actually have some kind of fight to them, which surprised me that Nianta, uh, higher than level 90, was struggling against the NPC who was still level 68. I was like, there's no way, dude.
No, I always knew Nyanta was gonna be on fraud watch, bro. It's what he gets for aura farming all day instead of like actually fighting anything, bro. I thought the talk between him and Lomdart was actually really, really well pulled off, right?
Yeah, I'll let you speak about that more because that was before we got into this. That was more your thing, so I'll let you explain it a lot more.
Okay, so as we were talking about earlier, Nyanta was following the novice party, which, by the way, Nyanta, Shiro literally said, hey, bruh, I want y'all to go and get some experience on your own. So what is this guy doing? What is this cat guy doing? Bro could not be within like 50 miles away from Serara at any given time. It's so fucked up.
It's a curse.
Anyway, he's like, yeah, it's cursed, bro. It's so cursed. He follows them, and I think he's one of the first people to notice both uh, Plant Cleaden's train and also the wyverns coming in to attack the city that the new party was in at the time. At some point, he goes off and he starts fighting some of the wyverns and also catches up with the train. And he's able to see Lawn Dart on it. Long Dark being the elf that was with Demikos back in the Snow City. I can't remember the name of the Snow City, but he was like sort of masterminding behind Demikos when they had full control over it. And my guy Londart, say what you want about him being generic and like forgettable, but my guy, he understands what he's here for. In that he doesn't want to be here. There's nothing for him to do, and he doesn't care about what like anybody else says about the world because he didn't ask to be in the world, right? And he was fully checkmating Yonta like throughout the conversation, like, okay, what am I supposed to say? These guys gave me a quest. I'm gonna do what I want with the quest the NPCs gave me to start this war, right? And I was just like, this would have been really good over with the Odyssey Knights, right? If Mondarch was trying to convince everybody to like crash out on the game world instead of whatever the Odyssey Knights were doing, being all like crazed or whatever, I would have walked in instantly and been like, hey, he's kind of right. I
Yeah,
thought it was beautiful.
yeah. With Londart seeing it, like I can disagree with them, but I can't argue against them. It's like that way to where you have Princess Linesia giving like the adventurers a quest to deal with the Goblin King event quest, and then you have the NPCs of the Westernland saying, "Hey, I'm gonna give you these quests. We're gonna start a war. Which one would you like to do?"
Man, I'm gonna start the war. Let's have some fun, man.
Yeah, but to see Long Dark going from like Demikos's right hand man to Demikos like being put out of business, and then he goes over west to meet up with NPCs, and like you said, he wasn't asked to be here; he was forced to be here, and he's like, "All right, if this is the way to get out, I'm in." And I believe he said this
And
line.
he was okay. My guy Londark was also shit walking out the.
Yeah, yeah, like a sorcerer against a melee class. Also, I have in my notes. I believe it's like a paraphrasing a line that he said. Adventurers are victims and outsiders, but what would that solve if you were to get rid of them?
Part quote.
But unfortunately, he gets got by the NPC who I now have my name on the name of the notes. Mizufa. She just gets him into the bag and throws him to the cogs. I'm like, all right, Long Dark lost 10,000 aura points.
No, for what reason? She was just bored, bro. She was just like, quit that talk no jutsu. Get the fuck out. Just killed him.
Oh man. But speaking on that quotes of like adventures like being here. Now that I looking at my notes, seeing in episode 21 when the whole Wyvern attack ended, Rundle was like trying to get the new party like out like quick, and come to find out, the NPCs, they have some very strong side conversations about the adventurers, and I thought, man, when Rundle was trying to like get everybody out quickly, I was like, yeah, I know the reason. NPCs don't like him. Like, no matter what Izuzu could do with creating the 43rd song, no matter what you could do of like saving the town, they're still gonna dislike you because of what you are and what all of your peers have done in the world. Like, there's no escaping that.
I didn't catch that while I was watching. That actually makes so much more sense than what I was thinking. Oh, damn.
Mm-hmm. Specifically, it was more about the Odyssey Knights, but you can expand that to the other ones. Like, if you're an NPC and you see like a bunch of guys just throwing themselves into like the enemies, even though they could revive, your town was like half destroyed. Yeah, these adventurers are strong, but they're not very good at their job.
No, literally.
Speaking about not being good at their job, Kanami, well, not Kanami specifically, we'll say the frog guy, Leonardo, in the Kanami's group, I think he felt like he was there for the ride, but I like seeing everything through his eyes of being with Kanami. Kanami being the leader of the Debauchery Tea Party, the most happy-go-lucky. You cannot put her down negatively in any kind of way. I was like, bro, she is way too happy for no good reason, and you know what? I'm kind of there for it. I like it. By the way, I'm gonna put up a picture of Kanami, and I'm gonna put a picture of Tifa Lockhart. You cannot tell me that they do not look like twins or sisters or one thing of another. They're both
Straight up
fist. They're
clones.
both fist fighters. They both have sort of like the same hairstyle. If Tifa had more hair and put it in that hairstyle, you could not tell me that they do not seem any different.
Yeah, no, nobody's gonna argue that. Like,
But the economy's whole arc is very, it seems very minor, but it kind of gives a glimpse on like what's going on outside in the other servers of people who are trapped. While we can theorize about the other servers, economy is just like going around and helping others and like trying to meet up with Shiro. It also paints a picture of figuring out who is an NPC and who isn't. Like, I didn't realize that. While hmm, there are a couple other things that are going on. There's Arius Hackblade that's traveling with her NPC. He is part of the Red Branch Knights, one of the 13 Order of Knights who maintain order in the world, similar to the Izumo Knights that we hear about in season one. I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. He's an NPC, level 100. You never would have figured that out unless you were like paying attention to the dialogue. There is no indication of it on like his pop up or whatever. I was like, all right, so Kanami's got like a very powerful NPC rolling around with her. And then another interesting thing is Capilia, a level 90 cleric. While she acted strange and talked robotic in a way, it's on purpose. She's a bot, like a farm bot that you hear about in MMOs. Like, she's a bot. But now she has some form of sentience now that she's trapped in the game world. Not only is that cool, it's also kind of scary if that actually happened in any other MMO into this day.
no, literally. Okay, two things. One joke. Firstly, I was devastated when I found out she was a bot, bro. I fell in love instantly. Bro, she's not even real. What do we mean?
You know what the funniest thing is? They gave her so much character and quote unquote emotion throughout the whole thing that you would never think otherwise.
Yeah, but I thought she would just be like an introvert or something, like a very helpful introvert. Nope, just a bot given sentience. And then the second thing is, okay, we did talk about Row 2 already, right?
A little
And
bit. We haven't dove into her very hard yet.
oh god. Okay. So Row 2, test server like account for Shiro, right? She was given sentience as well and sort of serves her own role that we're going to be talking about later. But I wonder if my favorite cleric bot was also sort of a way to foreshadow that like anything that exists on the world or has existed on world is going to be like given sentience in the same way. And that was just like extreme foreshadowing that I could have never thought about.
Here's hmm, that's an interesting thought. But also here's the thought that Roy too is part of the geniuses. Or more or less not a genius, but like the other half of that quote unquote category of NPCs.
I think they're travelers.
Yeah, Roy too is a traveler in the sense, and the geniuses are Roy too is more of a observer. Yeah, there's two types. Well, there are navigators. Uh, observer. Roy two is considered an observer, and the geniuses are considered as the harvesters. Now, this whole thing is very it's getting gets a little complicated and a little bit out of there. But Roy too is part of this navigator society that's running out of this very specific resource called empaths, and they need another world to avert the crisis of them sort of like dying out, quote unquote, ish. Is very but to really try to put it simply, the geniuses aren't evil. They're trying to help their own species, that is the navigators, like survive. And the observers are out there looking for the empaths in order for harvesters to get there. It's just quite unfortunate that the highest quantity of empaths are with the adventurers, and that's why the geniuses have been like so out there, like being hostile towards people.
I feel like, okay, not I feel like, but having all that sort of put onto you in the last four episodes of a 25 episode season was just so fast for me, dog.
Yeah, it's the whole Nurea coming at the end of season one all over again. You know, I I think they spent a little bit too much time on the new party. Oh God, they did that in season one. Anyway, of they couldn't really flesh out this little bit enough in order for us to digest it. But it's there. It's sort of a plot point that hopefully gets talked about in season three. That's pretty much what episodes 22, 23, 24, and 25 are doing. They're just trying to set up season three a lot more than like the last episode of season one did. Which
Yeah,
is
and I guess
no, go ahead, go
is
ahead.
that an improvement? I feel like that's an improvement.
It's an improvement as far as the amount of episodes. Probably not an improvement in understanding of what's going on.
No, definitely. I was curious about this. If you were to rewrite, let's say, the last four episodes, or no, I guess just start with, do you think we really needed like a final raid at the end of season two?
No,
Yeah,
and
okay, I was thinking the same thing.
that raid was probably the worst bit of writing and combat sequences that I've seen, as far as this whole anime is concerned. Because first of all, why are we having a mixed level raid when all the enemies are like 90 plus? Like Toya and the new party should have been like one charted sometime one another. But that it is what it is. You could not top the Akiba raid and the MMO raid. You could not top those two. There was no reason to like try to do a third. That felt very ad hoc. The combat was not. as good, especially in the beginning, because Shiro was too worried about everyone's future and what's at the top of the tower and trying to get to the communication device in order to contact the moon. I was like, yeah, that's cool, but you're also putting Shiro in a terrible position because we've already had his coming up of trying to be more open with everyone and actually throwing off his skills. And you also had some of the other characters being like, man, this is the villain in glasses, this is the strategist of the debauchery tea party. Man, he's not nothing. And then he had to get slapped by Henrietta, and I have all the new party kids tell him, "Hey, Cheryl, we're okay with being in this world. You do you, bud. You can do this." And Cheryl's like, "All right, let me lock in real quick. I'm sorry, writers. I'm sorry, writers had to like put me down for a moment. Now let's lock in." And they locked in.
No, literally. That's what it felt like. It felt like, okay, okay. So for me, when any anime tries to like force a very climactic finish, it makes me think it's getting canceled or like they haven't secured the next season yet. So they got to do something big, right? And this sort of felt that way for me. I feel like Shiro doesn't absolutely know like the solution on how to get home. And the whole reason he's like not in his OP strategist mode is because he's like, oh, who's gonna stay? Who's gonna go? Are we actually gonna be doing this or not? Right? And I feel like Shiro wouldn't be the person to be in that frame before he knows it's certain, right? Like putting the cart before the horse there.
Yeah,
It felt weird.
I would have thought he would already thought about all of this before getting in there. Like he would already state in mind. Sure, he might have some doubts, but he would be, in there. Like I said before, he did a raid where he trusted the other people. He distrusted the other people, and now he's kind of like now trusting others, and he's getting there. It's at the point we had. God, don't let me blank on her name, please. Oh no, she's my favorite character too. Akatsuki. We had
Yeah, I got
Akatsuki.
some.
We had Akatsuki, opening up to Shiro, and Shiro like being more honest with her. Like he's being more honest with everyone. And now we're just kind of dialing it back 10 ways for him to dial back in 15 ways. Like let's cut it. Let's just have our strong finish, and then we can start downing Shiro again in season 3. We don't need any more problems.
Yeah, pretty much exactly it.
Speaking of problems, the machine broke.
Yeah, the machine just breaks anyway.
I will say, this moment is probably my favorite, where Kanami is talking with Shiro, and Kanami, she is a mom, but she's also like the mom of the debauchery tea party. And while Shiro was like very like timid in his talking, Kanami is like, "Hey, you've grown," and Shiro's like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm doing better." In this moment where Kanami is like, "Hey, Shiro, I want to show my daughter this world." And me, in my mind, I was like, "Hey, whoa, Kanami, hold on now. You don't want to show her this world. Like, we've been through a lot here." And then Shiro just like smiled. And then I had to reorient my thinking. I was like, you know what? It's probably not that bad, you know? Kanami
Yeah.
has that aura, that personality, that smile, that being about it is like, you can just be happy and be comfortable. And like she can make any disaster like a picnic. And I'm like, you know what, Kanami? It's alright. It's okay.
No, like she's very disarming, right? And like not personable, but she's just very like bubbly in a way where it's like even in the worst situation, you can tell just like being next to her, you'd probably be fine. Or at least you can find some bright side about it.
Yeah. And, Shiro, it's like that last confirmation that Shiro needed to be like, all right, we'll find another way to like contact the moon or get out. And hey, man, he's finally back. Krusty.
Yeah. What do you mean my voice in China? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I don't know. Dude got teleported by the scythe and now he's in China. Who knows?
For me, okay, okay. I love my boy Krusty. I love him. It was good to see him. That shouldn't have been the last thing we ended on, bro. No. Not really.
It's okay, man. He'll be back in season 3. Speaking of, at the end of episode 25, there is a bit of a change to where the other Plant Guild members are suggesting Intix to be like, hey, this ain't working. You know? Try to like restore relations with Eastal. Let's stop the war. Try to work with Shiro. And then I don't Intix says anything about it. It's just like, bros, I don't think y'all understand Intix's like main goal. Like, but at the same time, you got Nerea like working in the background trying to be that she wants to actually work away so she can closer to Shiro. So now this is where we get into predictions of season 3. There's a possibility that Intix becomes the big bad and Norea in some way or fashion, hopefully not in a very controlling slash yandere kind of vibe, helps Shiro and the others defeat Intix and they find a way home. That's probably like the overarching for season 3.
Yeah, this doesn't seem like the anime where like people get sacrificed or anything like that.
Yeah, because you just revive at a cathedral.
Yeah, true. So I'm thinking it's gonna be like one more big raid, and there's gonna be like a bunch of like genius monsters. By the way, I will give them one thing. I don't think they should have had the genius raid at the end. I feel like that wasn't necessary. But just based on like how strategic the genius was and like the format for that raid, I do think I'm really excited to see more geniuses in the future.
Yeah. Before we get to like actual predictions, we can talk with genius about the geniuses a little bit. There's not much going on with them, but each of the geniuses that we've seen so far have a title to them, and that title has that kind of like gives you the hints on what they do and more than likely their weaknesses. For instance, let me search my notes. There's a genius that kind of invaded Akihabara, and the genius was flirting, not so much as flirting, but like courting a bunch of the female characters within the city. And he was going around asking them to be his bride. And even though sometimes he may have got rejected, he was like, whatever. He like move on to the next one. And he's been like kidnapping others. There's been reports of the people being seduced or look hypnotized. And at one point, when he gets punched, his health bar kind of like shifts, and like they show his name, the genius of marriage. And then when it happens, he changes into like this evil form, and he's about to go ham. Shojiro comes up, and he just gets like one tap by Shojiro, and I was like, oh, his weakness is male characters. Problem solved.
Bro, Seo does not play about his girls, man.
It's not even that. He just did like a simple thing and like he's gone. I was like, oh, so there's no little big flash or anything. They're just gone. Another
Wait, oh
genius.
my God. He asked Seo like if he would be the bride, and Seo was like, wait, I'm a guy, and then he like died instantly. I remember that.
And then there's another genius called the genius of measures. And this was like told through like dialogue and some scenes. And the fight was rough, but thanks to Roderick, he created the source vessel, aka a ruler, which sealed the abilities of the genius, and the fight was just like easy after that. I was like, dang, all right. So they seem like interesting, like powerful enemies, but once you figure out how to deal with them, they're like cakewalk.
Yeah. And okay, those two definitely undersold the genius part of like the equation because like after seeing okay, nothing's gonna be that hard with them. That's why they're getting no tapped in like 2 seconds. But like the raid genius, I think he really like raised my expectations. So I'm hoping it stays high and like they're not as goofy going forward.
Oh, we'll see. We will see.
Yeah, we will.
Speaking of, like I said, predictions for season 3. What is like one thing that you want to see out of season 3?
Um, I want to see at least one major character death. Um, I'm hoping. Wait, I guess fine. Character death, but nobody can die. Okay, I want to make it or see at least one character actually die, right? And I want it to be Konami. That's my prediction.
No, you can't do that. You can't do that.
I know they can't. I know it's like against the spirit, but bro, we need some. I don't know where the stakes go besides there, you know?
I want to see all of the members of the Debauchery Tea Party get together in a party and do something.
Oh, dude, that would be fire.
We've met all of them. It's quite unfortunate that some of them are on the other side, but I do want the Debauchery Tea Party to be in a party and like do something crazy or major. He'd be like, "Hey, this is good old times." Then Natsuko can do whatever, and then you know what? Let's just throw Akatsuki in there because she's an honorary Debauchery Tea Party member.
True. New gen, new blood.
But that is all that it is to talk about really for the second house in season 2. You got any last minute things you want to say or talk about?
You know what? I'm gonna say it. I shouldn't say it, but I'm gonna do it. Justice for Minori. I go next. We're good.
She'll get her time in the limelight, probably. But I mean, I think her role is finished. I think we spent enough time on the lower levels that we can now focus back on the higher levels and try to finish it out. Which, speaking of, season 3 is only 12 episodes, so it's not. We're getting close to the finish line, and we were able to close out season 3 with one last podcast, and we will have another video on Lock Horizon. Won't be talking about it. Well, we will be talking about Lock Horizon, but we'll be talking about characters. It'll be something special to do that I think is kind of mandatory when you talk about anime. Whatever it is, we'll keep it a secret until then.
It's gonna be a fun surprise.
Really fun. Uh, but thank you for everyone who stayed until the end. I hope you all have a good day, night, evening, morning, whatever the time of the day that you're watching this or listening to this. And thank you so much for everyone that who are watching this that have also watched all of the small little shorts that I've done on YouTube. Uh, it's been fun making those. It's been fun seeing everyone like make comments and interact. By the way, some of you are that down bad about Nuria. I understand, but you know, have a bottle of water next to you, okay? That's all I'm saying. But y'all take it easy, and we'll catch y'all in the next episode. Peace.
See you guys.